Berlin, Nevada. Built high in the Shoshone Range, Berlin was a tidy company town. Mines below, homes above, and an ichthyosaur graveyard right next door. The silver slowed, and one by one, lamps winked out. When the last shift ended, the desert sealed the place in stillness. Today, you can walk its boardwalks and hear echoes of paydays under that big Nevada sky. Gothic, Colorado. Born from silver and reborn for science, Gothic went from boomtown to biology lab. When the mines went bust, researchers moved in, studying wildflowers where saloons once stood. The mountains crowd close here, and every summer the old cabins bloom again with students instead of miners. It's a rare ghost that keeps learning instead of fading away. Bodie, California. Goodbye, God. I'm going to Bodie, the old line went, meaning rough money and even rougher manners. 10,000 souls once filled the alleys, and pistols settled more than poker hands. When the mines faltered, Bodie froze mid-sentence. The state keeps it in arrested decay, so chairs still face cold stoves, and dust keeps the secrets that daylight left behind. Cisco, Utah. Once a fuel stop and rail hub for the Denver and Rio Grande, Cisco thrived on steam whistles and grease-stained hands. When the railroad faded and I-70 cut its new path, nobody needed to stop anymore. The gas pumps rusted, signs peeled, and silence moved in. Now it's a scatter of shacks under the desert sun, quiet but never forgotten. Bannock, Montana. The first gold strike in Montana Territory lit Bannock like a lantern in the wilderness. It served as the capital for a spell, complete with gallows that got plenty of use. When richer fields opened nearby, the crowds drifted off. Today, its log buildings stand nearly as they were, holding court with the ghosts of gamblers, miners, and vigilantes. Tin Cup, Colorado. Rowdy, remote, and snowed in half the year, Tin Cup never lacked spirit. Gunfights were common, winters brutal, and yet the saloon always found enough whiskey for one more round. When the ore thinned, families left, but the cabins stayed put. Today, summer folks sweep the dust, tend the graves, and keep Tin Cup's wild heart quietly beating in the hills. Grafton, Utah. A handful of Mormon families farmed this patch by the Virgin River, wrestling with floods, raids, and desert heat. They built a schoolhouse, fenced fields, and tried their best to stay. Nature had other ideas. When the river jumped its banks once too often, the last wagons rolled out. What's left stands picture perfect, a little piece of heaven reclaimed by dust. South Pass City, Wyoming. Gold drew thousands across the Continental Divide to this little hollow in 1867. For a while, it felt like the middle of the world. Saloons, shops, and even a woman's vote cast here before most of the nation caught up. When the rush ended, it shrank to a whisper. Now it stands restored, proud of the noise it once made. Cerro Gordo, California. High above Owens Valley, a rough silver camp clung to the ridge like a barnacle on rock. Ore wagons creaked down the mountain, saloons filled up, and arguments got settled fast. When prices wobbled and veins thinned, the crowds thinned too. What's left today is wind, rust, and boards that remember boots. A few stubborn hands are bringing it back, plank by plank. Hamilton, Nevada. Up on Treasure Hill, the air still tastes like cold metal and luck. This was the county seat when silver fever ran hot, a place of noisy streets and bright lamps. Then the loads played out, fires came, and winter finished what the market started. Today, scattered stone and timbers hold the story. Hard work, high hopes, and the wind's long, lonely whistle. Frisco, Utah. They said the horn silver was so rich you could practically shovel it. With that came guns, gamblers, and a sheriff who kept a tight rope on a wild town. Cave-ins, falling prices, and a rough streak of fate turned the noise to quiet. Walk the ruins now and you'll hear tin roofs rattle, like old dice in an empty cup. Lake Valley, New Mexico. Folks still whisper about the bridal chamber, a pocket of pure silver that made men dizzy with dreams. For a spell, money poured and the street stayed lit past midnight. Then the ore gave out, and the desert took back its due. Today, sun-baked buildings and a tidy trail tell a simpler tale, how boomtown laughter fades to wind and creaking doors. Panamint City, California. Outlaws first found the shine in those Panamint heights, carving a road where only burros dared. Saloons multiplied, mills pounded rock, and then one biblical flash flood tore the whole show downhill. What the water didn't steal, time simply wore out. Hike in now, and you'll find rusted boilers and brick chimneys, like grave markers for a town that ran out of luck. Aurora, Nevada and California border. Brick buildings rose in a hurry, and so did reputations. The stamp mills hammered. The courts stayed busy, and the saloons never went dry. When the silver cooled, folks shipped whole bricks away to build elsewhere, stripping the town to its bones. What's left lies quiet in the sage, a reminder that even sturdy walls can't outlast a busted vein. Sago, Utah. A narrow canyon hid the coal, and for a while that was enough. Company houses, a tipple clattering, a little rail spur out to the world. Water troubles, labor troubles, and cheaper seams elsewhere pulled the pin. Tracks vanished, roofs slumped, and the desert got its canyon back. Walk the grade today, and you'll crunch cinders that remember steel wheels. Custer, Idaho. Custer was carved out of pine and hope along the Yankee Fork. The saloon saw its share of celebrations, and the school bell rang until the veins ran empty. Then came quiet, then grass, then time. The Park Service keeps it tidy now, but if you listen close, you'll still catch the ring of picks from deep in the gulch. Bonanza, Idaho. Bonanza was Custer's spirited sister, bars, mills, and miners shoulder to shoulder. A fire in the 1890s took much of it, and the mines never fully came back. Still, the hills around it remember payday shouts and mules creaking under ore sacks. What's left is quiet, and maybe that's fitting. Bonanza burned bright, and like its name, gave everything it had. Garnet, Montana. At the height of things, 1,000 souls kept stoves warm and doors swinging, dance halls, a school, and voices in every alley. Fires and thin ore sent most folks packing, twice over, leaving the good timbers to dry in mountain air. Careful hands keep it standing now. Peer through a window and it's 1898 again. The same dust, waiting boots. Ballarat, California. A sunburned supply town for the Panamints, this place watched wagons shudder out full and limp home empty. Mercantiles, corrals, and a hard-drinking crowd kept it lively until the mines stuttered. Then came emptiness. Sky, gravel, and silence big enough to park a dream in. A handful of structures hold on, bleached and stubborn as desert bone. Darwin, California. Once the biggest outfit in Inyo County with smelters breathing and payroll that kept the bar stools warm. The road in is still mean and twisty, like the town's luck turned. When the metal markets cooled, so did the streets. A few artists and hard cases stayed, sharing town with javelinas and ghosts. Every creek says somebody once hammered here for keeps. Calico, California. Silver made the hills shine, and row after row of false fronts rose to meet the wagons. When prices crashed in the 1890s, folks peeled out fast, leaving a husk in the dust. Later hands rebuilt the skeleton. turning memory into a tidy main street. It's half museum, half echo, still teaching how a boom sounds just before it breaks. Ashcroft, Colorado. For a short spell, this high meadow camp strutted like Aspen's rival. Hotels, newspapers, and talk too big for the gulch. Investors drifted off or proved fickle, and winter stayed honest. The Forest Service keeps the bones upright now, cabins squared against blue sky. Stand there at noon, hear grass hiss, and you'll understand how fast fortune can outrun a town. Silver City, Idaho. Deep in Owyhee County, Silver City grew proud on rich ore and thick snowdrifts. Over 75 buildings still stand, their false fronts facing a street that once never slept. When freight stopped and the price of silver sank, the population thinned to a handful of diehards. It's one of the few ghosts that still keeps a porch light burning. Alta, Colorado. Above Telluride's bright bowls, a little cluster of buildings hangs on like lichen to stone. Ore came out by tram and sled, winters pinched hard, and summer was a blink. When cheaper metals showed up elsewhere, the place fell quiet. Alpine lakes mirror roofs and sky now, and the only racket is wind fussing with nailed-down tin. Rhyolite, Nevada. This one lit up the desert like a carnival. Bank buildings, an opera house, even a lighted depot to greet the hopeful. Then the funding dried, the ore disappointed, and big dreams walked off into the heat. Bottle house and skeletal walls stand guard today, photogenic as a movie set. Blink, and you can still see the last train rolling. Treasure City, Nevada. For one bright minute, ore from this ridge priced like a miracle. Camps ballooned, talk turned bigger than the sky, and investors jingled pockets full of plans. Then winter, distance, and geology teamed up, and the stampede trailed off. Little remains but wind, sage, and the sense that money once ran faster than horses across these wide white hills. Elizabethtown, New Mexico. They called it E-Town, first incorporated in the territory, proud as a peacock after the 1866 strikes. Saloons and hotels lined a brisk main street until fire and thin ore clipped its wings. The mountains kept the view, the town lost its footing. What remains are foundations, a few stubborn boards, and the feeling payday might ring again tomorrow. Caribou, Colorado. You can still find traces of this mountaintop silver camp, stone foundations, a smelter's scar, and the ghost of a main street above Boulder. Fires came early, snow later, and profit turned to powder. When the loads dried up, Caribou slipped quietly into the timberline. Even now, the wind up there sounds like wagons climbing out with one more load. Belmont, Nevada. Once the county seat of Nye County, Belmont had hotels, saloons, and a courthouse that made folks proud. When silver failed and politics shifted, people rolled up their carpets and left. The courthouse still stands under desert stars, stately as ever, its windows black with time. You can walk its steps and almost feel the boots and gossip returning. Elkhorn, Montana. A hard winter or two couldn't break Elkhorn, but silver prices finally did. Two handsome halls, Fraternity and Jillian, still stand guard like twin sentinels against the wind. Once they hosted dances, church, and meetings that stitched the town together. Today, the halls hold only echoes, their clapboards whispering of fiddles, footsteps, and that moment when the music stopped. Cherry Creek, Nevada. Cherry Creek was the kind of town that burned bright and fast. 20 saloons, a racetrack, and a main street that never got quiet. When the ore ran thin, the laughter did too, leaving empty buildings and dust devils for company. A few scattered cabins remain, weather-beaten but proud, proof that even ghosts can keep their spines straight. White Oaks, New Mexico. Billy the Kid drifted through, but miners made the real noise, popping timber, rattling mills, and a main street that strutted on payday. When the veins tightened, so did the town's belt, and slowly the doors closed. Today, weathered boards and the old cemetery hold the stories. Stand still a minute, and you'll swear you hear fiddles from a Saturday night. Bayhorse, Idaho. Tucked into a narrow canyon, Bayhorse smelled of charcoal and sweat. Kilns still stand like sentries, round-bellied and blackened from years of feeding the furnaces. When prices dipped and timber ran short, the town emptied. Now it's one of Idaho's best-preserved ghosts, each stone wall and iron hinge reminding visitors how hard folks once worked for a silver dollar. Burke, Idaho. A canyon so tight, the hotel was built over the street and the train ran right under it. Burke was an engineer's headache and a miner's dream, until cave-ins, strikes, and floods wore everyone down. The narrow gorge still echoes like a memory chamber, with rusting trestles and tilted timbers showing how close grit can live beside ruin. St. Elmo, Colorado. Perched high in the Sawatch Range, St. Elmo once buzzed with families, freight wagons, and high country ambition. Then the mines shut, and the last train out took the town's heartbeat with it. Its wooden storefronts still line the dirt road, straight-backed as soldiers. They say the postmaster's daughter, Annabelle, never left. Maybe she's still waiting for that next delivery. Animas Forks, Colorado. At 11,000 feet, this place had grit, homes, a hotel, and a paper that bragged it was the highest in the world. Winters crushed it. Drift swallowed roofs, and by spring most miners moved on. What remains today are wind-whittled walls, and a view so wide it feels borrowed from heaven. Hard to imagine such beauty ever went broke. Kerwin, Wyoming. Snowfields hang above this high-elevation camp, beautiful and unforgiving. A sudden avalanche in 1907 broke hearts and plans. Many never came back. Cabins still crouch against the weather, their chinking proud as scars. It's quiet country, just wind, marmots, and the clap of loose shutters. Folks once chased ore here. Now they chase silence and a clean horizon. Silver Reef, Utah. Strangest thing, silver and sandstone where no book said it ought to be. That curiosity birthed a rowdy little city, brick storefronts, newspapers, and plenty of music after dark. When prices fell, the miracle quit paying. Desert varnish settled on adobe walls and the reef slid back into red rock hush. Even now it feels like geology pulled a fast one. Miner's Delight, Hamilton City, Wyoming. Named with tongue-in-cheek, this gold camp delivered more hardship than fortune. Still, it lasted longer than most, until the 1930s finally dimmed the lamps for good. Cabins still cling to the slope, logs silvered by time. Walk among them and you'll smell pine pitch and dust. A mix that says men once chased dreams here and came up short. Mogollon, New Mexico. Tucked deep in the mountains, Mogollon was one of the rowdiest camps in the Southwest. Streets crammed with miners, mules, and trouble. The gold was good, but the terrain was mean. Floods, fires, and isolation wore it down. A few hardy souls still call it home, but most of Mogollon belongs now to ravens and restless desert wind.